Hello Outsiders, thank you so much for joining us as always, especially in this difficult time. We will be talking about Young Justice Season 3 today, so sorry. Let's just get into it. Young Justice, despite the things I'll be discussing in this video, is still maybe my favorite DC animated series of all time. Season 1 is not only a great teen superhero story, but is fun and carefree enough to binge without emotional whiplash, and while I can't say the same about Season 2, like, at all, Invasion is an incredibly dramatic comic book epic, which balances new and old characters impressively, and leaves us wanting more of, well, everyone really. Season 3, however, we're gonna get right down and dirty with it because I don't like being mean, and if I allow myself to dilly-dally, toddle, or even gallivant, I may never get started. So, cards on the table. While I have watched Young Justice Seasons 1 and 2 many times, I started watching Young Justice Season 3 when it was airing in 2019, and I finished it this year. Young Justice Outsiders is very fittingly the odd one out of the 3 seasons I've seen so far. Falling off of Season 3 way back when obviously meant that I never even started Season 4, and after this, better be fucking good. Funny enough, this season actually starts with some of the same mistakes that made me nearly think I didn't like Season 2 on my first couple watch-throughs. While the first couple episodes of Invasion focused partially on a storyline on the wacky but ironically very boring alien planet of Ran, Outsiders introduces us to this season at large with a 3-episode mini-arc in the fictional Eastern European monarchy of Marcovia, and it is understandably boring as sin. You know, I never understood that phrase. Sin is fun. That's like the whole point. I want to give you guys a little developer roadmap for how this video is going to go. It'll be a little different from my other review style videos. However, unlike an actual developer roadmap, I'm going to give you the content you've been promised. Probably. But either way, you can still give me money through my new memberships tier. G. Gordon will have more on that later. I usually like to go through each main character and discuss just how I felt they were handled, the plot, the villain, and whatever else. But even if I narrow down who the, 20 main characters of this season are, I don't think I have the attention span to go through them one by one like usual. I miss Season 1. So I'm gonna lightly cover the main plot, introducing you to our new and returning characters as they come, and then, when the time comes, I will summon the ancient spirit of a 2018 Nando V movies and be giving my recommendations for just how they could have tightened up this bioship a little. Outsiders actually gets started on a pretty awesome note, with Batman leading a crusade of quiet quitting against the Justice League.
I'm sorry, but I hereby tender my resignation to the Justice League.
Oh man, he sucks at this. Batman, as well as Black Lightning, Green Arrow, Katana, Plastic Man, and Hardware, resigned from the League. The world stage has shifted significantly in the direction of the villains this season. Metahuman trafficking is on the rise, and Lex Luthor has not only become Secretary General of the United Nations, but has stuffed it with psychopathic bureaucrats like himself. Thank God that would never happen. The League has essentially become a social club of superheroics unable to act really at all due to the short leash Luthor has them on. Cutting the leash has allowed Batman, every member of the Gotham Extended Vigilante family, and several other unwitting super teams to be folded into
Batman Incorporated.
Ooh, that kind of paints it in a bit of a bad light, don't we think? I mean, they're trying to beat the supervillain conglomerate known as the Light by using their own tactics to beat them at their own game. So they're more like an anti-light, like a darkness.
Maybe that was a poor choice of words.
Or maybe it wasn't. Batman's new vigilante CIA, this branch being ran by Nightwing, is illegally dropping into Marcovia to put an end to a metahuman trafficking ring. These 3 episodes get us introduced to the world of this season, with it involving metacriminality, taking entirely too long, and usually being clad in boring, bland Black Ops suits. We meet Prince Brion, the newly orphaned, even newerly exiled Prince of Marcovia, who has now been reborn into a volcanic rage monster, hence the exile. We also meet Halo, and I'm not bearing the lead on the characters this season, so you have like 3 seconds before I tell you she's a 1, 2, 3 living mother box which inhabited a human corpse and merged with its soul. But shockingly, super shockingly, that really cool idea is actually not what people like to talk about with Halo. See that on top of her head? You may think it's a hijab, but actually it's a lightning rod for dumbasses to say this season got woke. But I mean, yeah, it's a hijab. Halo, or Violet in civilian mode, is part mother box and part the person who used to live in this meat bag. And while she's no longer Muslim and presumably only worships the source wall itself, she says that still wearing the hijab feels right. They don't bring it up again, so neither will I. Get over it. Through training with our heroes, Violet and Brion start a burgeoning teen romance, which is odd because I was certain both of these people were in their mid-20s. But speaking of teen romance, we've got to get back to the OGs. Much of Young Justice Outsiders centers around heroes who have left the life entirely or are getting closer to that every day. McGann and Connor have rekindled their love and live a quiet life with a townhouse in Happy Harbor, Rhode Island, but also a not-so-quiet life with Connor helping the new metas learn the ropes of their powers and McGann leading the team on even intergalactic missions. In episode 4, we get introduced to Forager, a big ol' bug boy from New Genesis, and we even get reintroduced to things like colors and supersuits. Forager is a big mixed bag full of bug guts for me because while on the one hand he can be pretty funny and is cute, if I hear Fred Bug with 2 G's one more time, I'm gonna jump through the screen and strangle him. That's 2 E's. But the season does still keep the Young Justice sense of humor that's been so important for the series. The pure funniest episode for me coming from a team-up between Dick Grayson and 3 Roy Harpers.
Whose idea was it to put all 3 of you together on one mission?
Yours.
Dick's characterization this season is actually a marked improvement over his portrayal in Season 2 for me. While in that season he just got to facilitate other people's storylines, this season he is the face of just one of his daddy's anti-light branches. And is mostly a selfish prick, but this is also the guy who lets his hookups answer the door when his ex is knocking, so yeah. Kaldur is leading his own team. You may have heard of them actually. They're called the Justice League. Their members include not Batman. I will say that while I definitely prefer undercover Aqualad to his new role as Aquaman and leader of the League, it's a nice continuation of his characterization leading the team in Season 1. I was worried that we would hardly see Kaldur this season with his new management position, but he has some of my favorite scenes in the season. Like when he and his Atlantean boyfriend go on a mission to confront Granny Goodness? Oh my goodness! More on that later, folks. And the last person still in the life is Artemis. Her and Wally left the life after Season 1, but after Wally left life in general, Artemis has picked the bow back up under the nom de guerre, Tigress. She's getting to lead the family life she never ended up getting with Wally, helping the former Red Arrow, who is going by like his 3rd alias, in raising his daughter since Cheshire abandoned them. He's a better man than me. I would abandon my kid for Cheshire. And I haven't even covered completely new characters like Cyborg, this being probably my favorite way they've ever tied Victor into the New Gods. We also have practically new characters like Beast Boy. Young Justice Outsiders is fine. It's a fine season of TV, really. But Young Justice was one of the best, most consistent DC shows of all time, so what on earth is this season missing? Despite the absence of most people's favorite character in the whole series, I don't think there's a ton that this season is missing. It's just got way too much in it. Season 3 is 26 episodes, and while Season 1 had the same count, that season had the ability to get off to a much slower start and not lose audiences as quickly due to it being a new series. Season 2 kept it to a much tighter 20 episodes with one very strong overarching plotline. That ensured that practically every episode had to have significant plot or character developments. But Outsiders wanted to have their cake and eat it too. You know, I never understood that phrase either. It's your cake, you should be able to eat it, but whatever. Outsiders streamed on the now defunct DC Universe Unlimited, meaning they didn't have to worry about air slots, advertisements, and they could turn the show into happy tree friends. But the insane surprise of blood and viscera we get every few episodes is a perfect reminder of what this season actually does really well. Weird shit. Young Justice Outsiders is a good enough continuation of the series that preceded it, but only really when it's trying to push the show in new directions. I mentioned the new and deeply worse Garfield Logan earlier. Last season he was a pretty cute little brother character from McGann, and never really overstayed his welcome. This season, however, he's a totally rizzed up Gen Z superstar baby, and you totally can't tell he was written by a 60-year-old.
We're gonna quiet the fears of the public, terrified by the metagene generation, and we'll do it all by inspiring that generation, because we are them. Raised alongside them in the fallout of a scary metahuman world, we can be the heroes that empower them to conquer their fears.
But despite all of the scenes where Gar gives a totally radical speech about social media and I fantasize about beating him to death with my bare hands, he has one of the coolest episodes of the season. While most people know Beast Boy as a member of the Teen Titans, the character actually got his start in the Doom Patrol, DC's weird-ass counterpart to Marvel's X-Men. In Nightmare Monkeys, we see Gar take a Teen Titans Go flavored look at his horrific trauma through his time with the Doom Patrol.
Garfield, it broke my heart when I heard about Marie.
Sorry your mom died!
We get to see a return of the voice cast from Go, including for Beast Boy, and get an appropriately dark sense of humor.
Okay, Patrol, spell it out!
T-I-E-T-I-E-T-I-E, let's die!
There's also a sequence of shameless pandering as Dick hallucinates Wally joining them on the climactic mission of the season, complete with Season 1 designs and the main theme, but it still tugged at my heartstrings and made me extremely stressed out, so they kinda earned it, I guess. This weird, uncomfortable energy, especially around the memory of Wally, leads Artemis to her best story of the season in the penultimate episode. Wally having died on the other side of the planet from Artemis means she never got the chance to say goodbye, culminating in the creepy and very bad idea for Zatanna to send Artemis' soul into limbo so that she can finally get her goodbye. The episode is unsurprisingly a tearjerker and has some of the most beautiful conclusions of the entire season. But the thing that makes me madder than all else, they barely use the best character of the season.
There's a gentleman here in the lobby to see you guys. It says his name's Savage. Should I send him up?
There are some pretty cool villains this season. We get the return of Clarion, Count Vertigo, and Ocean Master tries to murder a ton of babies. But Vandal Savage headlines the most pure raw episode of the season, taking the reins of the war world from two other absolute goats of galactic conquest, Mongol and the Reach. Vandal defends the planet from an invasion by the original Justice League big bad, Starro, while his history is recounted to us by one of his daughters, Cassandra. This episode is not only captivating, but goes places they previously weren't able to when they had to share the lineup with Adventure Time and the Annoying Orange. He even tells them just where Halo is being held at Granny's orphanage on the condition that they tell the forces of Darkseid who betrayed them. Okay, let's see. I've talked about the new team, the old team, the light, Beast Boy, Granny Goodness, the darkness, Halo, Brion. Okay, I think I can act like I'm a real writer now. The overarching plot of the season mostly pursues Granny Goodness portraying herself on Earth as business mogul Gretchen Good. Granny, as any brain-rotten detective comic cell will tell you, is a new god. Loyal lieutenant of Apocalypse, Granny leads the female Furies in the armies of Darkseid. Although in Outsiders, Granny is tasked with acquiring the answer to the anti-life equation, having found the missing variable in Halo the Living Mother Box. The season's ultimate battle has the team go up against a brainwashed Justice League, so we're doing that again, but don't worry, they're barely gonna fight. Like it all, really. Okay, I have a few issues with this. First off, the anti-life equation should never actually be solved, because it should be 100% impossible. For those of us who aren't in the know, like us cool kids, the anti-life equation is a math problem made up of words meant to get rid of free will that Darkseid is endlessly searching for. It should basically be a total trump card in the DC universe if it were ever solved, but it's a math problem made up of words to get rid of all free will. So yeah, it should be 100% impossible, because that is completely insane. Second off, if you are going to solve the anti-life equation, it should be a nigh impossible obstacle for our protagonist to overcome. But it just feels like them completing any other mission. So what would I have done if given these same general ideas for the season? Well, it is still going to hurt my soul as a DC and a New Gods fan, but I think that this could have been a better course of action. The New Gods / anti-life plotline is going to cover the first half of the season, while follow-up plotlines, like their adaptation of Judas Contract, Artemis's grief, and the Light's betrayal of Apocalypse, get some more room to breathe. Now, I already don't like the idea conceptually of solving and fixing the anti-life equation as quickly as they do, no less, but we can still make it feel a little more impactful and scary by actually making it have consequences, like maybe Elongated Man can pop his own head like a grape. Or we could even have some heroes permanently lost to anti-life, opening up the door to have them return with an Apocalyptian redesign. This will obviously truncate the screen time of the few New Gods we get, but I would absolutely keep characters like Metron, the hilariously sinister technopath of New Genesis.
This is Metron. He can save Vic.
There has been a misunderstanding. I am not here to save this Vic. I am here to watch him die.
And while I still do like elements from the last few episodes of the season after they've defeated Granny and the Anti-Life, like their decision to basically completely subvert Judas Contract and the Light betraying their alliance with Darkseid, they're forced to conclude those stories at an unnatural pace, with Darkseid basically having to just eat the backstabbing he received from Vandal, and Darkseid does not turn the other gray, rocky cheek. And along with restructuring the plot a little bit, there's also just a lot of gristle to be trimmed off of this season. There are no specific episodes I can get rid of, which is ultimately good, obviously, but there's a lot we can do. You should subscribe to this channel. This is a long video, and I'm not going to sacrifice any more brain power to come up with a reason, so please just do it. Oh, you can get a membership too now. But certain elements should either be cut entirely, saved for a future season, or actually expanded upon a bit more. I'm not even talking about characters that I just wish we could have seen more of, like Arsenal.
So, no one's taking this stuff in broad daylight, huh? Okay, I stand corrected. I'll just blow out the tires, problem solved. What? No!
Characters like Macomb, Miss Martian's terrorist brother, get introduced and are really intriguing, do seem like they're gonna matter, but get dropped like a bad habit the moment the season finds something more boring to do. But I don't think I have a better example of a character that is just there to waste our time than Dr. Helga Jace. She's like the evil equivalent of this season's portrayal of Black Lightning, and while I also think he's around a little too much for the small amount of stake he has in the ultimate plot, he's enjoyable and ultimately has a good arc. Dr. Jace, on the other hand, has taken Brion, his sister Tara, and most of all Violet under her wing. She has also seduced Black Lightning, now going by his civilian name of Jefferson Pierce. And unlike Jefferson, they just completely shit the bed with her. After too many slow episodes seeing her care for these three as her own surrogate children, we learn that she actually hates Violet, slinging more shit at her than internet chuds when the season aired, is completely off the wall insane, and only cares for her true meta children, Brion and Tara, who are also in no way, shape, or form her children. And then she just kinda goes away, only to come back for an end of season tease. Wow, that was something, huh? Young Justice Outsiders is one of the most mixed bags I've ever had to rummage through. This season continues the show's brand of a massive cast of characters and converging plot lines, but is the first season to ultimately just kinda fumble it. If you ask random internet morons, they'll tell you the show got woke, Although a show ultimately about different types of people coming together to fight evil was already pretty woke, guys. But for this season, just trying to do way too much and not sticking the landing on a lot of it, I think it actually came out a lot better than I ever would have guessed when I dropped it all the way back in 2019. Young Justice Season 3 Outsiders is like a cake filled with an indeterminate amount of gravel. You shouldn't swallow it whole, so it might be best to just watch it from a safe distance. But that is the video for this week, y'all. I will see you next time. Goodbye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. If you made it to this point, a special double thank you very much. What I have for this week to show off for girlfriend gift time is something really cool. Also, oh my gosh, this video is a project, guys. It's probably gonna end up being my longest one ever. Yeah, I'm filming this before the video is done, shockingly, so I'm not sure. But the support on the channel lately has just been fantastic, and I had a really fun time writing this video. Yeah, I hope you guys had a fun time watching it, but for girlfriend gift time this week, we have got something really cool. This is Junji Ito's Frankenstein. Junji Ito meets Mary Shelley in this fantastic adaptation of her novel, and I mean, it is fantastic. I am thinking about making a video on it at some point, because I thought that Uzumaki was like the upper limit of like Junji Ito. When he has someone else write the dialogue and make the story, that was a really bad whistle. That was pathetic. Okay, I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye.